The vacuum of space carried no sound. Yet Captain Marcus Hale could still hear the screams. 5 years had passed since the Earth Civil War ended, but the memories remained vivid. The burning settlements on Mars, the children crying in the refugee camps of Europa, and his wife and daughter's final transmission before their transport was hit by a rebel missile. Marcus stood at the viewport of the USS Ares Vanguard, gazing out at the barren planet Clyros rotating below. Its dusty ochre surface reminded him of the Arizona desert, where he'd proposed to Elena. Another memory, another ghost. "Captain, you're requested on the bridge." The ship's AI broke through his reverie, its voice calibrated to sound concerned, yet professional. "On my way," he replied, turning from the viewport. His reflection caught his attention, a weathered face with deep lines around the eyes, hair prematurely gray at the temples. At 42, he looked a decade older. The corridor to the bridge was quiet at this hour of the ship's artificial night cycle. Most of the 80-person crew were asleep, leaving only the night shift to monitor their patrol route through the Elysia star system. Humanity had only begun interstellar exploration 30 years ago, and the Ares Vanguard represented Earth's military presence in this sector, a show of force disguised as a research vessel. Lieutenant Sarah Kim stood as Marcus entered the bridge, her usually calm demeanor visibly strained. "Captain, we've intercepted a transmission. It's unusual." "Define unusual, Lieutenant." "It's from the Varkon Alliance. They're requesting, no, demanding, a formal duel with a representative from our ship." Marcus frowned. The Varkon Alliance, a coalition of warrior species that controlled 3 planets in the neighboring Taurus sector, had maintained an uneasy peace with Earth's expanding colonies. Early diplomatic missions had established basic communication protocols, but little else. The Varkon's rigid honor-based society remained largely enigmatic to humans. "Show me," Marcus ordered. The main view screen flickered to life. A tall, blue-skinned humanoid appeared, its face covered in intricate, raised ridges that humans had learned were both decorative and indicators of clan lineage. The being wore ornate armor that seemed ceremonial rather than practical. "Humans of the vessel in Clyros orbit," the alien began, its voice processed through translation software. "I am High General Arkra of the Varkon Alliance. By the ancient rites of combat and the honor of my ancestors, I challenge your vessel to provide a duelist of worthy standing. This is not a request. If you refuse, we will consider your entire vessel forfeit and act accordingly. Your representative will meet ours on the surface of Clyros at the coordinates provided. You have 1 planetary rotation to decide." The message ended abruptly. "Scan for Varkon vessels," Marcus ordered. "Already done, sir," Lieutenant Kim responded. "We've detected a Varkon warship on the far side of Clyros. It appeared shortly after the transmission. Weapon signatures suggest it's a heavy cruiser, significantly outgunning us." Marcus processed this information quietly. Standard protocol dictated immediate retreat and contact with Earth Command, but the Varkon vessel would easily intercept them before they reached the jump point. "Sir," said Lieutenant Wei from the tactical station, "I've analyzed their weapon systems. If they decide to attack, our shields wouldn't last more than 30 minutes. Marcus nodded grimly. "Lieutenant Kim, open a secure channel to Earth Command." The response from Admiral Chen took only minutes, but the orders were clear. "Captain Hale, this is the first direct challenge from the Varkon Alliance. Intelligence suggests they're testing our resolve. Your orders are to accept the challenge and gather as much intelligence about their combat capabilities as possible. The diplomatic corps believes this may be a cultural initiation rite. Earth cannot appear weak." Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "With respect, Admiral, they're asking for a sacrificial lamb." Not necessarily. Captain, you were a Special Forces combat specialist before your command promotion. You're the logical choice. And if I refuse, then the fate of your crew and potentially peaceful relations with the Varkon Alliance rest on your conscience. We're at a critical juncture. Hale, this isn't just about one ship or one man. After the transmission ended, Marcus stood in silence until Lieutenant Kim approached cautiously. Orders, sir? Prepare a shuttle. I'll meet their champion. The decision rippled through the ship, creating a mixture of respect and concern among the crew. As Marcus prepared in his quarters, Lieutenant Kim entered with a data tablet. Our scientists have compiled what little we know about Varkon physiology, she said. They're stronger than humans, with denser muscle tissue and redundant organ systems. Their endurance is exceptional, but they may have slower reflexes due to their size. Marcus scrolled through the sparse data. Not exactly encouraging. No, sir. But there's something else. Our xenolinguist thinks the translation might be imperfect. The Varkon word they've translated as duel has cultural connotations beyond combat. It carries spiritual significance, something about honoring ancestors through ritual combat. So I'm not just fighting, I'm participating in a religious ceremony? Essentially, yes. And there's no mention of the duel being to the death. It may be symbolic. Marcus nodded. That's something, at least. Lieutenant Kim hesitated. Sir, the crew. We've taken a collection. There's an old military tradition. I know the tradition, Lieutenant. Marcus interrupted. He'd seen it before. Crews preparing mementos for warriors not expected to return. Keep it. I plan to come back. As the shuttle prepared for departure, Dr. Maya Okafor insisted on a final medical review. Your stress indicators are off the charts. Captain, she said, scanning him with a medical tricorder. Combat stimulants are available. No drugs, Marcus said firmly. I need a clear head. Then take this. She pressed a small metal disc into his palm. It's a biomonitor. It'll give us your vital signs, and it contains a subspace transmitter. If things go wrong, we can track you. Marcus pocketed the device. Thank you. Doctor. The descent to Klyros was turbulent. The planet's thin atmosphere did little to slow the shuttle, and the surface appeared increasingly inhospitable, a wasteland of jagged rock formations and dust plains. The coordinates led to a relatively flat area, surrounded by stone columns, that looked almost like a natural amphitheater. As the shuttle settled on the surface, Marcus performed a final check of his equipment. Standard-issue combat suit, reinforced but flexible. A survival kit, and a ceremonial blade that protocol demanded for formal encounters. Earth Command had been explicit. No firearms or energy weapons. The airlock hissed open, and Marcus stepped onto the alien soil. The gravity was slightly less than Earth's, giving him a momentary sense of lightness before his body adjusted. The air, while breathable according to sensors, carried a metallic tang that made his nose twitch. In the distance, a larger vessel had landed, the Varkon shuttle. A procession emerged, led by the blue-skinned alien from the transmission. High General Arkra was even more imposing in person, standing at least 7 feet tall, with shoulders twice the width of a human's. Behind him came 4 warriors in similar, but less ornate armor. And, surprisingly, a smaller figure in flowing robes who appeared to be of a different gender, based on the more delicate facial ridges. Captain Marcus Hale, Arkra's voice boomed, the translation device at his throat converting his language to English. You accept our challenge? I do, Marcus replied, straightening to his full height, though he still stood a foot shorter than the Varkon general. Under the protocols established by our initial diplomatic contact. Arkra made a gesture that might have been amusement. You speak of protocols and diplomacy. This is about honor and the proving of species. The question before us is simple. Are humans worthy of respect, or are you merely prey? The bluntness shocked Marcus, but he maintained his composure. We consider ourselves neither predator nor prey. General, we are explorers and, when necessary, warriors. Words, Arkra dismissed. Only combat reveals truth. The robed figure stepped forward, and Arkra fell silent with what appeared to be reluctant deference. I am Nerea, the figure said, her voice more melodious than the general's harsh tones. High Priestess of the Varkon Alliance, I will oversee this duel according to our ancient traditions. She studied Marcus with large, amber eyes. You come alone, human. This shows courage. Or foolishness, Arkra added. Nerea ignored him. The duel will commence at the rising of Clyros's second sun. Until then, you will prepare in our camp, learning our ways. This is part of the ritual. Marcus hadn't expected this development. My crew may observe from orbit, Nerea said, but none may interfere, with no real choice. Marcus followed the Varkons to their encampment, a series of prefabricated structures arranged in a precise geometric pattern. Inside the central dome, a space had been prepared that appeared to be living quarters adapted for human needs. You will rest here, Nerea said. When the first sun sets, I will return to instruct you in our ways. Left alone, Marcus activated his communicator. Hail to Ari's vanguard. We read you, Captain, Lieutenant Kim's voice responded. Are you secure? For now. They've invited me to stay in their camp until the duel tomorrow. It seems there's a ritual component to this challenge. Sir, Admiral Chen has sent updated orders. Earth Command wants you to gather as much intelligence as possible about Varkon technology and capabilities. Understood, Marcus replied, though the thought of espionage during what was apparently a sacred ritual left him uncomfortable. Hail out. He spent the next hour examining his quarters, noting the efficient design of Varkon technology. Everything served multiple purposes. The bed doubled as a medical diagnostic unit. The lighting adjusted automatically to his physiology. And even the water dispenser analyzed and optimized its output for human consumption. As promised, Nerea returned after the first sunset. The light through the dome's transparent sections had shifted from harsh yellow to a deep crimson as Clyros's primary sun dipped below the horizon. You have questions, she said, settling gracefully onto a cushion across from him. Many, Marcus admitted, starting with why the Varkon Alliance suddenly demands a duel with humans they've barely contacted. Nerea's expression shifted subtly, the ridges on her face contracting. Not suddenly. Captain Hale, your species has been expanding rapidly through the stars, establishing colonies and military outposts with little regard for existing territorial claims. We've violated no established boundaries. Boundaries are not always marked with fences, she interrupted. There are historical, spiritual territories that your surveys dismiss as empty space. Marcus absorbed this information. If there was a violation, it was unintentional. Our diplomatic corps speak endlessly without understanding. Nerea finished. The Alliance Council grew tired of words. General Arkra proposed the ancient solution, ritual combat to determine respect. And if I lose? Nerea's amber eyes fixed on him. Then humanity will be judged accordingly. As prey, Marcus recalled Arkra's words with a chill. Perhaps. But that is not the only possible outcome. She reached into her robes and withdrew a small, crystalline flower that emitted a soft blue glow. This is a shard of the sacred bloom. It represents the connection between all intelligent life. She placed it on the table between them. In our tradition, duels are not merely physical contests. They are spiritual revelations. The true nature of a species emerges in combat, not just strength or skill, but courage, honor, and wisdom. Marcus studied the crystal flower. And what has the Alliance seen in humanity so far? Potential, Nerea said, and danger. You are young as a spacefaring species, but your history is ancient and soaked in blood. You fight among yourselves with a ferocity that disturbs even Varkon warriors. The Earth Civil War, Marcus thought. They've been watching us. The duel tomorrow is more than a test of your personal strength. Captain Hale, it is a reading of humanity's soul. When Nerea left, Marcus remained awake, contemplating her words. The stakes were higher than Earth Command realized. This wasn't merely a show of force or an intelligence-gathering opportunity. It was a judgment on humanity's right to exist in this sector of space. He activated the biomonitor Dr. Okafor had given him, hoping it would transmit their conversation back to the Ares Vanguard. The crew needed to understand what they were facing. The second sunrise came with alarming swiftness. Klyros's smaller, brighter sun crested the horizon, bathing the landscape in harsh white light that reflected off the crystalline formations surrounding the natural arena. Arkra's warriors came for Marcus, escorting him to a preparation chamber where his combat suit was exchanged for a lightweight armor clearly of Varkon design. It fit surprisingly well, suggesting they had studied human physiology in detail. This is an honor rarely granted to outsiders. One warrior explained, "You will face the trial as one of us." The arena, when Marcus entered it, was more impressive than it had appeared from the shuttle. The stone columns rose 50 feet into the air, inscribed with symbols and connected by translucent energy fields that formed a complete circle. In the center, a platform of polished black stone gleamed in the sunlight. Hundreds of Varkons had gathered, more than Marcus had realized were present on the planet. They sat in disciplined silence, watching his entrance with unreadable expressions. Nerea stood at one edge of the central platform, arms raised. "The trial of worthiness begins," her amplified voice echoed. "Captain Marcus Hale of Earth stands for his species. Commander Kelvar stands for the Varkon Alliance." A warrior stepped onto the platform opposite Marcus, not Arkra, as he had expected, but a younger, leaner Varkon with fewer facial ridges and hungry eyes. "The rules are simple," Nerea continued. "Combat continues until submission, incapacitation, or..." She paused. The revelation of truth. Marcus wasn't sure what that last condition meant, but he had no time to ponder it. At Nerea's signal, Commander Kelvar charged with startling speed, covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. Marcus barely sidestepped the first attack, feeling the wind of a massive fist passing inches from his face. His combat instincts, honed through years of special forces training and the brutal realities of the Civil War, took over. Kelvar was stronger and had a significant reach advantage, but Marcus was quicker and more agile in the lighter gravity. He ducked another blow and delivered a precise strike to the Varkon's midsection, only to find it like hitting solid stone. The alien laughed. "Your species is weak. Human." Marcus retreated, reassessing. The Varkon's confidence was absolute, his attacks powerful but predictable. There was a pattern, 3 aggressive advances followed by a momentary reset of stance. On the next sequence, Marcus timed his move perfectly, using the Varkon's momentum against him and executing a sweeping leg maneuver that sent Kelvar crashing to the platform. A murmur rippled through the watching crowd. Kelvar rose slowly, his expression darkening. "First blood to the human," Nerea announced, and Marcus realized that the Varkon's blue skin had split at the temple, leaking a silvery fluid. Kelvar's next attack was more measured, less predictable. They exchanged blows in a deadly dance across the platform, each assessing the other's capabilities. Marcus landed several effective strikes, but took a punishing hit to his ribs that left him gasping. The fight continued, minutes stretching into what felt like hours. Marcus's training allowed him to enter a state of hyper-focus, where pain receded and only the next move mattered. He was holding his own, but the Varkon showed no signs of tiring. During a brief moment when they circled each other, Marcus noticed something odd. General Arkra and several other high-ranking Varkons were gathered in intense conversation, occasionally glancing at a device one held. They seemed disturbed by something. The distraction nearly cost Marcus dearly. Kelvar landed a blow to his shoulder that sent him sprawling across the platform. Pain lanced down his arm as he rolled to his feet. "You fight well, for prey," Kelvar taunted, advancing again. This time, Marcus didn't retreat. He stepped into the Varkon's attack, accepting a glancing blow to deliver a precise strike to a nerve cluster where the alien's neck met its shoulder, a vulnerability noted in the sparse physiological data Lieutenant Kim had provided. Kelvar staggered, momentarily paralyzed on one side. The crowd's murmur grew louder. "Enough!" General Arkra's voice cut through the arena. "The ritual is compromised." All eyes turned to the general as he strode onto the platform, flanked by guards. He held up a device, similar to the biomonitor Dr. Okafor had given Marcus. "The human brings espionage devices into sacred combat," Arkra announced. "This is not honor. This is treachery." Marcus straightened, ignoring the pain in his ribs and shoulder. "It's a medical monitor. My doctor—" "It transmits," Arkra cut him off. "It records. It violates the sanctity of the duel." Nerea approached, her expression grave. "Is this true, Captain Hale?" Marcus faced her directly. "It monitors my vital signs for my crew's information. If that violates your protocols, I apologize. It wasn't explained to me." "Convenient ignorance," Arkra sneered. "The judgment is clear. Humans lack honor." "No," Nerea countered. "One action does not define a species." She turned to Marcus. "However, the ritual has been compromised. It must be reimagined." Before Marcus could respond, alarms shrieked from the Varkon encampment. Warriors rushed to defensive positions as a communication officer approached Arkra urgently. "General, Earth vessels have entered the system. Many vessels. They approach in attack formation." Marcus felt a cold dread. "That's impossible. We're on a peaceful mission." Arkra rounded on him, rage distorting his features. "More lies. This was never about honor for you humans. The duel was a distraction while your fleet positioned for attack." "I know nothing about this," Marcus insisted. "Let me contact my ship." After a tense standoff, Arkra grudgingly agreed. Marcus's communicator connected to the Ares Vanguard, where Lieutenant Kim's voice came through, tense and hurried. "Captain, Earth Command deployed the Third Fleet after losing contact with you. Admiral Chen overrode our assurances that you were safe. They're 17 minutes from weapon range and refusing communication with us." Marcus closed his eyes briefly. The biomonitor's transmission must have been interrupted, leading Earth Command to assume the worst. "This isn't what it appears," Marcus told Arkra. "There's been a misunderstanding. If you'll allow me to return to my ship, I can try to prevent conflict." "More human deception," Arkra growled. "Your kind speaks of peace while positioning for war." Nerea stepped between them. "If what he says is true, General, preventing bloodshed serves the Alliance better than vengeance. After an excruciating silence, Arkra nodded curtly. "Return to your vessel. Human. Stop your fleet. But know this. The Alliance now sees humanity's true face." The journey back to the shuttle was tense. Marcus flanked by Varkon warriors who clearly wished him dead. As he prepared for launch, Nerea appeared at the airlock. "Captain Hale," she said softly, "I sense you speak truth about this misunderstanding, but General Arkra has already contacted the Alliance Council. War preparations have begun. Help me stop this," Marcus urged. "There's been enough bloodshed in the galaxy." Nerea studied him, the ridges on her face pulsing slightly. "There is a way, but it requires trusting me completely." "I'm listening." She pressed the crystalline flower she had shown him earlier into his palm. "Return with this visible in your hand. Request the right of Kaltarin, the judgment of ancestors. It is an ancient tradition that even Arkra cannot ignore." "What does it involve?" "Pain," she said simply, "and truth. Now go." The shuttle launch was rough, the planet's unstable atmosphere buffeting the small craft mercilessly. Marcus pushed the engines beyond safety parameters, racing against time to intercept the approaching Earth fleet. As he cleared Klyros's orbit, the situation became clearer and more dire. The Ares vanguard had positioned itself between the planet and the approaching Earth vessels, 8 destroyers and a carrier, a significant portion of Earth's military might. "Captain Hale to Ares vanguard," he transmitted. "Patch me through to Admiral Chen immediately." The Admiral's face appeared on the view screen, surprise quickly masked by military discipline. "Captain, we thought you'd been captured or killed." "I was participating in a ritual combat." "As ordered," Marcus replied, not bothering to hide his anger. "Why is the Third Fleet here, Admiral?" "Your biomonitor transmitted elevated stress indicators and then went silent. Combined with the Varkon vessel's increasing energy signatures, we assessed a hostile situation." "You've misread everything. Admiral, the Varkons weren't preparing to attack. They were conducting a cultural evaluation of humanity. And now, thanks to this show of force, they're convinced we're untrustworthy aggressors." "Stand down, Captain." Chen's voice hardened. "Return to the Vanguard. The fleet will handle the diplomatic situation from here." "With all due respect, Admiral, that's exactly the wrong approach." Marcus took a breath. "I'm returning to the surface. I believe I can still salvage this situation. That's a direct violation of orders. Hale, then court-martial me when this is over. Hale out." He cut the transmission and immediately opened a channel to Lieutenant Kim on the Ares Vanguard. "Sarah, I need you to buy me time. Convince the fleet to hold position for at least 2 hours." "Sir, what are you planning?" "Something extremely unpleasant, if I understand correctly," Marcus replied grimly. "But potentially the only way to prevent an interstellar war." The shuttle banked sharply, returning to its descent trajectory. Marcus studied the crystal flower in his palm, wondering what exactly the rite of Kaltarin entailed. Nerea had mentioned pain and truth. Neither prospect was comforting. As he re-entered Klyros's atmosphere, sensors detected increased activity at the Varkon encampment. They were preparing for battle, perhaps even evacuation. The shuttle's communication system picked up frantic transmissions between the surface and the Varkon warship. Marcus landed in the same location as before, but this time no welcoming committee awaited him. Instead, defense turrets tracked his movement as he exited the shuttle, the crystal flower held conspicuously in his outstretched hand. "I request audience with General Arkra," he called out, hoping their surveillance picked up his words. "I invoke the right of Kaltorin, the judgment of ancestors." For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, a squad of Varkon warriors emerged from the encampment, weapons trained on him but not firing. "Follow," their leader commanded tersely. They led him not to the living quarters this time, but to a circular structure he hadn't noticed before, a low dome made of a material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Inside, the air was thick with aromatic smoke, and concentric circles of glowing symbols covered the floor. In the center stood Nerea, now dressed in more elaborate ceremonial robes, her face painted with silvery designs that matched the patterns on the floor. Behind her, surprisingly, stood General Arkra and what appeared to be a council of Varkon elders. "Captain Marcus Hale invokes the right of Calterin," Nerea announced formally. "Does the human understand what he requests?" "I understand it may prevent war between our species," Marcus replied. A murmur ran through the assembled Varkons. Nerea's expression remained unreadable. "The right of Calterin is not a negotiation tool," she said. "It is the most sacred judgment in our culture. The supplicant's mind, body, and soul are opened to the ancestors. Nothing remains hidden. Few survive with their sanity intact." Marcus swallowed hard but kept his voice steady. "I still request it." General Arkra stepped forward. "This is unprecedented. No non-Varkon has ever undergone the rite." "Then perhaps that's exactly why it should happen now," Marcus countered. "You claim to want to understand humanity's true nature. What better way than this?" After conferring briefly with the elders, Arkra nodded grudgingly. "Proceed, priestess. But when the human breaks, remember I advised against this waste of sacred resources." Nerea guided Marcus to the center of the circular patterns. "Remove your armor and kneel," she instructed. "The crystal must touch your bare skin, over your heart." As Marcus complied, she leaned closer to whisper, "Remember why you came here. Hold to that truth when all else seems lost." He nodded, pressing the crystalline flower against his chest as instructed. Immediately, a sensation like ice spreading through his veins made him gasp. The crystal seemed to melt, flowing over his skin and seeping beneath it. "Do not resist." Nerea's voice seemed to come from very far away. "The ancestors must see your true self." The cold sensation reached Marcus's heart, and suddenly pain exploded through his body. He might have screamed, he couldn't tell. The world dissolved into fragments of memory and sensation. He was a child again, watching his father leave for the first Mars colony, never to return. A teenager enlisting in Earth's Space Defense Force, driven by a mix of idealism and anger. A young officer witnessing the atrocities on Europa that would eventually spark the Civil War. Meeting Elena, her laughter cutting through his growing cynicism. Their daughter's birth, tiny fingers gripping his with surprising strength. The devastating news of their transport's destruction. The hollowness that followed. The mission to Klyros. The duel. The impending conflict. Each memory was experienced with brutal clarity, every emotion amplified beyond endurance. Through it all, Marcus sensed presences, ancient, alien intelligences sifting through his consciousness, judging, evaluating. And then, abruptly, he was shown something else, not his memories, but visions. Earth vessels firing on Varkon ships, the beginning of a war that spread across the sector. Colonies destroyed. Billions dead on both sides. A devastated galaxy where the survivors hunted each other through the ruins of once great civilizations. "No," Marcus tried to say, though whether he spoke aloud or only in this strange mental landscape, he couldn't tell. "This isn't inevitable. This isn't who we are." The presences seemed to focus more intently on him, questioning without words. "Then who are you?" "Human." In response, Marcus opened himself completely, surrendering his defenses, He showed them humanity's capacity for compassion alongside its potential for destruction. Earth's bloody history, balanced against its achievements in art, science, and philosophy. He offered his personal pain as evidence of human vulnerability, and his presence here as testimony to human courage. Most importantly, he showed them his vision of what could be instead, humans and Varkans working together, each species contributing its unique strengths to create something greater than either could alone. The pain intensified until Marcus thought his consciousness would shatter. Just as darkness began to close in, he heard Nerea's voice again. Enough. He has been judged. Reality reassembled itself slowly. Marcus found himself still kneeling in the center of the circle, trembling violently, his body drenched in sweat. The crystal flower was gone, but a faintly glowing pattern remained on his chest, directly over his heart. General Arkra stood before him, his expression transformed from contempt to something more complex. "The ancestors have spoken," he said, his voice subdued. "They have seen into your soul, human, and through you, glimpsed the soul of your species." Marcus tried to stand, but found his legs wouldn't support him. Two Varkan warriors stepped forward, helping him up with unexpected gentleness. "What?" Marcus's voice was raw, as though he'd been screaming for hours. "What did they decide?" Nerea approached, her ceremonial paint now streaked with what appeared to be tears. "The judgment is rarely simple. Captain Hale, the ancestors saw great darkness in humanity, a capacity for hatred and destruction that rivals any species they have encountered." Marcus's heart sank, but she continued. "They also saw light, courage, compassion, and an extraordinary resilience. Most importantly, they witnessed your willingness to endure pain to prevent suffering for others. This they deemed worthy of respect." "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. Arkra answered. "Now we talk. Human. Not as predator and prey, but as potential allies." Over the next hours, as Marcus recovered his strength, an unprecedented dialogue unfolded. The Earth fleet remained in position, held there by Lieutenant Kim's diplomatic efforts and Admiral Chen's reluctant agreement to a temporary ceasefire. In the Varkan Command Center, Marcus, Nerea, and General Arkra established the framework for what would become the Klyros Accords, the first true treaty between humans and the Varkan Alliance. "Your biomonitor device," Arkra said during one discussion. "It was indeed sending data to your ship?" "Yes," Marcus admitted, "but not for the purpose you assumed. My crew was concerned for my safety, not gathering military intelligence." "The distinction is meaningful," Arkra acknowledged. "In our culture, combat is sacred, private between the participants and the ancestors. But I begin to understand that humans view many things differently." Nerea, who had been quietly observing, added, "The rite revealed something significant. General, the human felt anger, great anger, during the duel, but not toward Commander Kelvar or even toward you. His anger was directed inward, at his own failures, and outward at the waste of life that conflict represents." Arkra considered this. An unusual perspective for a warrior. "Perhaps," Marcus said. "That's because I've seen too much war already." By the time Earth's diplomatic vessel arrived 2 days later, the immediate crisis had passed. The formal negotiations would be complex and lengthy, but the foundation had been laid. Mutual respect, born from the shared experience of nearly avoiding devastating conflict. As Marcus prepared to return to the Ares vanguard, Nerea approached him privately. "The mark of the ancestors," she said, gesturing to his chest where the faint pattern remained. It usually fades within days. Yours has not. What does that mean? It means the connection remains open. You are the first non-Varkon to be recognized by our ancestors. This creates possibilities. What kind of possibilities? She smiled, the expression transforming her alien features into something unexpectedly warm. That, Captain Hale, is what we will discover together. The ancestors do not mark someone without purpose. Marcus touched the pattern thoughtfully. I'm not sure I'm qualified to be an interspecies ambassador. No one ever is, Nerea replied. But those who understand both the cost of war and the value of peace are rare. The ancestors saw this in you. Later, aboard the Ares Vanguard. Marcus stood at the same viewport where he had gazed at Klyros 3 days earlier. The planet looked different to him now. Not a barren wasteland, but a birthplace of new possibilities. Lieutenant Kim joined him silently, respecting his contemplative mood. Admiral Chen is furious, she eventually said. He's talking about court-martial for disobeying direct orders. Let him, Marcus replied without rancor. It was worth it. The crew disagrees with the Admiral. There's already a petition circulating through the fleet supporting your actions. Marcus smiled faintly. Political pressure won't stop Chen. Maybe not, but public opinion might. The first successful treaty with the Varkon Alliance, that makes you a hero in some circles. I'm no hero. Sarah, just a tired soldier who's seen enough death. She studied him with concern. The Varkon ritual. What exactly happened in there? The medical team says your brain chemistry has been permanently altered. Marcus touched the glowing pattern beneath his uniform. I'm not entirely sure myself, but I think I woke up. Sir? For years after Elena and Sophie died, I was sleepwalking, going through motions, following orders, feeling nothing but anger. Down there, facing my worst memories, I finally felt everything I'd been suppressing. He turned to face her, and I realized something important. What's that, Captain? That anger can be useful. It can even keep you alive, but it's a terrible compass. It'll lead you in circles, back to the same pain, over and over again. The ship's communication system interrupted them. Captain Hale, transmission from Earth Command. Marcus straightened, professional mask sliding back into place. Route it to my quarters. I'll take it there. As he walked away, Lieutenant Kim called after him. What will you tell them? He paused, considering the truth, that humans and Varkons nearly destroyed each other because we were both angry and afraid, and that maybe, just maybe, we found a better way forward. In his quarters, before accepting the transmission, Marcus stood before the mirror and unfastened his uniform enough to see the glowing pattern on his chest. It pulsed gently in rhythm with his heartbeat, a constant reminder of the connection forged in pain and understanding. Whatever came next, court-martial, diplomatic assignment, or something yet unimagined, he would face it with clear eyes and an open mind. The anger that had defined him for so long was still there, but transformed, redirected toward building rather than destroying. Outside his viewport, the stars seemed brighter somehow, the darkness between them less empty. Somewhere out there, other species were watching, waiting to see what humans and Varkons would make of this fragile peace. Marcus refastened his uniform and accepted the transmission. It was time to wake the rest of humanity up. 2. As Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen, Marcus felt a surprising sense of calm. The Admiral began with predictable reprimands about chain of command and military protocol. But Marcus heard something else beneath the words, uncertainty, perhaps even a grudging respect. "Are you listening, Captain Hale?" Chen demanded when Marcus didn't immediately respond to a direct question. "Yes, Admiral," Marcus replied. "I'm listening very carefully, and I think it's time Earth did the same." Chen's expression hardened. "Meaning what, exactly?" "Meaning the galaxy is larger and more complex than we imagined. The Varkon Alliance has traditions and territories we've been ignorant of. If we're going to expand into space, we need to do so with wisdom, not just firepower." "That sounds dangerously close to insubordination. Captain." Marcus smiled slightly. "With respect, Admiral, I've already disobeyed direct orders to prevent an interstellar war. A little insubordination seems minor by comparison." To his surprise, Chen almost smiled back. "You've created quite a situation. Hale, the diplomatic corps is ecstatic. The military command is furious. The civilian government is calculating the political advantages of peace, while wondering if you've compromised Earth's security. And what do you think, sir?" Chen was silent for a long moment. "I think you're either the luckiest fool in the fleet, or exactly the right person in exactly the right place at the critical moment." He leaned forward. "The Varkon priestess has requested your presence at a ceremony marking the formal commencement of treaty negotiations. Care to explain why?" Marcus touched his chest where the mark pulsed beneath his uniform. "It's complicated, sir. During the ritual, I experienced something profound. A connection was established." "A connection?" "To their ancestors, their history, their way of seeing the universe. And through me, they glimpsed humanity's potential, both the darkness and the light." Chen's expression turned skeptical. "That sounds mystical, Captain. I deal in facts and strategic realities." "Then here's a fact for you. Admiral, the Varkons were preparing for a species-wide war against humanity because they believed we were dishonorable expansionists. Now they're willing to negotiate territorial boundaries and cultural exchange protocols. Whatever you think of the mystical aspects, the strategic reality has improved dramatically." After another long silence, Chen nodded. "Report to the diplomatic vessel tomorrow at 0800. You'll join the negotiation team as a special advisor." He paused. "This isn't a reward, Hale. It's recognition of the unique position you now occupy. Don't make me regret this decision." "Understood, sir." After the transmission ended, Marcus returned to the viewport. Beyond Klyros, the stars beckoned. Countless worlds, countless potential encounters with other intelligences. Humanity was taking its first real steps into a complex galactic community. Learning that expansion without understanding was a path to conflict. The mark on his chest warmed, and with it came a fleeting impression. Nerea's voice in his mind, distant but distinct. "The true duel begins now. Captain Hale, not with fists or weapons, but with wisdom and patience." Marcus smiled. The aliens had wanted a duel, but instead, they'd gotten something far more dangerous and promising. A human who had finally woken up from the nightmare of his own anger to embrace a larger purpose. The universe, it seemed, had plans for them all.